Okay. I figured we should talk about the swim scandal that's been going on in Rio. Um, Bentz, Conger, Feigen, and Lochte. The only one I remember was Lochte. The other three, I didn't hear about them until this incident happened. These men, well, Lochte told his mother, and then his mother told the press, and then Lochte was forced to tell the press that he was the victim of a robbery. One story was they were pulled over by a guy pretending to be a cop. He pulled out a fake badge, pulled out a gun. 3 guys went down on the ground face down. Lochte was like, "Fuck you, I'm an American, blah blah blah, I didn't do shit, man." They put the gun to his head, cocked it, or took the safety off, or some kind of action. And then, okay, fine, cool, get down. They took cash, no cell phones, no credentials, and no credit cards. Very telling. Even in a third world country, I imagine it's very likely that someone might want to take a cell phone, take the memory chip out, and send it to Joe Blow's electronics store to resell on the market. But if you're caught with it before you get to take the memory chip out, police catch you, that's it. If it has some kind of special skin on it or some kind of special engraving on it, you're screwed. Credit cards. If my credit card is stolen, especially if I'm robbed at gunpoint, I'm going to call the police. I'm going to call the credit card company. The credit card company is going to kill the credit card in the system. And the first place they go is not going to work, and they may be detained by security. If I'm caught with your photo ID, I'm in trouble. So it's very possible a robber would like to take cash, because everyone and their mother has cash. Cash is touched by everybody, exchanged by everybody. So if you go take a dollar bill out of your wallet, you won't be able to get your own fingerprints off it. And no one records serial numbers, period. It doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. No one records serial numbers. So that sort of made sense. And then there was another story that said they were robbed at a gas station. Well, why are there 2 different stories? A Brazilian judge saw video footage of the men coming back from the robbery, going to the Olympic Village, being searched, and they're really calm. And the judge is like, why are they that calm after being robbed at gunpoint? Okay. So then we hear they got the cab driver. Then we hear they got the surveillance in the gas station. Then we hear they're interviewing people. The police first heard about the robbery on social media, the news, stuff like that, and the police got involved and investigated. And there really were some real robberies. Some countries order their athletes off the beach by a certain hour, some order their athletes indoors by a certain hour. Not exactly a safe place, so the police investigated. Lochte told the story. Feigen told the story to the police. Then the police begin their investigation. The judge signs search warrants for seizure warrants for all their passports. This isn't some kangaroo court. This is an actual judge with an actual warrant, like we would recognize in America. Lochte had come home. That's not a coincidence. Feigen had moved out of the Olympic Village into a hotel. Also not a coincidence. And Gunnar and Bentz, whatever his name is, Bentz, were on a plane. Police came, took them off, put them in the back room, took their passports. The next day they had a news conference. It was televised and translated into English for us by our own American press. And what really happened was the 4 men were out in cabs. Now you have the International Olympic Committee, American Olympic Committee, Swimming Association in this case, the governing body of your sport, whatever it is, and your individual coach. And they set rules for you. And one of the rules along the guidelines was no cabs. Take your authorized special Olympic transportation. No cabs. And no going out that late at night into the far reaches of the towns. Okay? So they're breaking the rules. They're out clubbing, they're out drinking. and they're coming back in the cab. Cab driver goes to the gas station. They get out. They're seen on surveillance cameras going inside. Now, when you go to a store or a gas station, even in America, the door is locked and you gotta get the key from the manager. They don't do that. They break the door down. They break a window, a mirror rather. They tear this down. They piss on the floor like a bunch of fucking animals. And they're getting a lot of trouble for that. Even in America, store detectives, managers, employees would detain you and call the police. So the store employees detain them, pull them out of the car, put them on the side of the building. Now in America, you almost never see a police officer working armed security. You see retired police officers doing that, but active police officers are almost never allowed to work private security, period. It just doesn't happen. But in Brazil, a little different. One of the security guards is doubling as an active duty police officer. And he has his gun. And he pulls it out. Now, 4 men, over 6 feet tall, over 180 pounds, drunk, breaking things, language barrier, like assholes. I myself would have pulled my gun. I'm not going to lie about that at all. They get them to calm down. Some guy from somewhere. The police know who he is, but we don't. He might have been American, he might have been Brazilian. He speaks fluent English, fluent Portuguese. Okay. He comes over and voluntarily translates. And he tells the 4 men, blah, 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 you broke their shit, blah, blah, blah. They're going to call the police, blah, 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 you got to pay for it. Now in America, you would call the police, and if you wanted to press criminal charges, you would ask the police to take the suspects to criminal court. If you wanted to recover damages, you would maybe ask the criminal court judge to force them to pay for the damages as part of their punishment. If not, you would have your personal lawyer file a claim in the civil court. But in America, you never do cash settlement without a police officer, lawyer, or judge signing off on it. A little less formal in Brazil. They do a cash settlement right there on the spot. Now the question is, did Lochte perceive himself as being robbed? Well, no. Because the translator said you broke their property, they want you to pay for it, or you're going to go to the police. So Lochte was aware at the time, even admitted in an interview recently I watched tonight, that he was aware of the perception was, I'm drunk, I broke something, they're calling the police, they want me to pay for the damages. Okay, so in Lochte's mind, and according to the translator, he knew he was not being robbed. Yes, he had a gun pulled on him by an off-duty police officer posing as a security guard, which is legal in their country, even legal in this country in most cases, but his perception that I was robbed. Okay, and it's also called lying by omission. I had a gun pointed at me, and they took money away from me. Oh, by the way, I was drunk, destroying property. The guy that took the money from me was an off-duty cop working as a security guard, and he was threatening, whatever. Okay, he lied by omission. Now, the chief of the police said in Brazil, as long as the manager of the gas station is reimbursed financially, and he does not want to press charges, they will not pursue that. So the drunken disorderly conduct will not be pursued. But as far as when the police came and Feigen and Lochte lied, that is lying to a police officer. Now, the 2 men, Bentz and Conger, what the fuck his name was, they were pulled aside, and the police probably told them, good police work is separate everyone and get their statements without letting them talk to them at all. Because if they're not talking to each other and they're writing down statements, and the statements match, that means it's the truth. This is good police work, by the way. So they pulled the 2 guys away. They obviously had to separate them, and they probably told them, look, we want the truth. Okay? We promise we won't punish you further, but if you lie to us, you're in big trouble. And keep in mind, they did have English translators too, but keep in mind, you're in a foreign country, and I Google Brazilian prisons, they're not nice, believe me. Okay. And they probably said, okay, we did this, we got drunk, we trashed this, blah blah blah, we were wrong, we paid them money, we reimbursed them, we're very, very sorry, we promise never to do it again. And they were given their passports back to come out. Feigen, who lied to a police officer that what they were interested in, he was told, we were calling America, a plea deal. He was looking at 3 years in a Brazilian prison. You know for a fact his rich white American ass ain't gonna last 2 minutes in a Brazilian prison. Okay? And rather than have him be killed within the first 2 minutes, they scared the living shit out of him. And they told him, in no uncertain terms, that as punishment for lying to a police officer, you're going to give, rather than give money to the government, let the money get stolen or misappropriated, you're going to give 10,800 American dollars, which is worth a lot of money in Brazil, to a Brazilian youth sports league, or what the fuck they call it. And that punishment means you get your passport back. And they probably scared the living shit out of him. They probably yelled at him. They probably banged the desk. They had big guys come in and yell at him. They wanted the message to be sent out that they were mad. Okay, and we do that in this country too. A lot of times cops, detectives, judges will have some stupid young guy who did some really dumb mistake, and they'll pull him aside and they'll say, listen, here's the deal. Confess, do a fine, community service, sing and dance for whatever, and we'll let you go. If you don't do that, we're going to put you in jail. And in jail, the guy is 6'5", he hasn't seen a woman in 10 years. You know, they scare the shit out of you. No matter what country you're in, the cops are going to scare you. Now, Lochte has a warrant for his arrest. The Brazilian-American treaty says rape, murder, kidnapping, drugs, terrorism, extradite. They're most likely not going to extradite for this. But Lochte has two problems. If Lochte goes to some country and that country owes Brazil a favor, the police of that country are going to drag Lochte out of the hotel in the middle of the night and send him to Brazil in a box. If 25 years from now a terrorist or cop killer flees to Brazil, he kills a cop in America and flees to Brazil because he has family in Brazil, and the Brazilian police arrest him, you know what they're going to say to the American police? That's straight. Okay. Also keep in mind that they still have the governing body of their sport. They still have the American Olympic Committee, and they still have the International Olympic Committee to deal with. They can be suspended, they can be fined, they can be expelled from the sport, they can have their medals revoked. And Lochte has a medal this year for the 4-way relay race. If they rescind his medal, will they rescind his medal and put an asterisk in the record books and say 3 Americans got the gold, but Lochte's is revoked? Or will they rescind all the gold medals for the entire squad of 4 men, and we're going up 1 notch? That could happen. When I was in 7th grade, we had the Boston trip. When I was in 8th grade, we had the Washington, D.C. trip for 3 days and 2 nights. The school is still in existence. Instead of being 7th and 8th grade, now it's 7th to 12th grade. And I know a couple of kids that go there. 7th graders go to Philadelphia instead of Boston. 8th graders still go to D.C. When I was in 7th grade, we had a meeting. And the parents had to go to the meeting. It was at night. And I went. A lot of my friends went with my parents. You know, sign this form, sign that form, sign this form, sign that form. And the 8th grade dean, Mr. C, and the school's main attendance keeper, Mr. G, went on both trips. So the trips were scheduled at different times so they can go on both of them. And Mr. C, the 8th grade dean, comes along, and he comes in and he says, last year we had a problem. He says, first of all, if your kid does something stupid, we're sending him at your expense. But then Mr. C said, the kid did something stupid last year. I'm not going to tell you what he said. I'm not going to tell you what he said. He was embarrassed of us, he embarrassed himself, blah, 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 blah. And Mr. C recited the punishment. Now, our history teacher told us later on in class that the kid was in the marketplace on the second day and he stole a cassette. We had CDs, but our Walkman needed a cassette back then. He stole a cassette. The manager caught him. The manager wanted to have him arrested. His friends ran, got Mr. C. Mr. C came over, and Mr. C said to the manager, listen, I'm responsible. He's going to be punished. Let me take him. And the manager agreed, gave him to Mr. C. Mr. C called his father, and in my day, when your father got a phone call from the principal or the dean that you were almost arrested on a field trip, okay, you got the shit beat out of you when you got home. So Mr. C told his father that. Mr. C then made him sit on the bus for the entire rest of the trip. Like when they go to the exhibits, he had to sit on the bus with the bus driver. He couldn't get off the bus. He couldn't go to any exhibit at all, period. When they came back the next day, NBA Hall of Fame, he's sitting in the lobby. When they had dinner at the pool, he's sitting up at his room eating dinner. Okay? And he was not allowed to go to Washington, D.C. the next year, and he was suspended for 5 days. Okay? So even though you escape criminal penalty, the governing body can still punish you. In this case, the school. In their case, Olympic Committee, Domestic Olympic Committee, Swim Committee, stuff like that. Okay? Now, I looked on the American Embassy's website a few years ago, and the American Embassy tells you, if you're arrested, pick up the phone calls, and we'll help you out. The American Embassy is very clear on this. If you commit a crime that is not recognized by the United States, like you might be in a Sharia law country, and you might be sentenced to be hanged for being homosexual, they use political pressure, they use economic pressure, they'll even send in Delta Force to get you out. But if you are in a foreign country and you commit a crime that is recognized by the United States, you're on your own. You ever see Lochte abroad? There was some white guy, dreadlocks, real idiot, who was down on his luck, and he agreed to bring cocaine to Spain for some drug war. He's walking through the airport in Spain with cocaine, strapped to him. The cop sees him. He's got a shitload of cocaine on him. Calls the American Embassy. The American Embassy tells his family. And they put him in prison for 18 months. He gets a letter in the mail saying, we had a trial. You're guilty. 9 years. He was in prison for 18 months. The trial went on without him. No judge, no jury, no lawyer. They just mailed a letter saying he was guilty. He spent 9 years in prison. Okay? If you are on foreign soil and you break the law, you pay. Drunken disorderly conduct, willful destruction of personal property, private property, lying to police. Those are crimes recognized by the United States. And there was some idiot on Twitter the next day who was telling me, well, Lochte didn't commit any crimes. And I'm like, well, really? Really? So being drunk and breaking shit ain't a crime? And Lochte, he has that same thing because he has the 5A, Fifth Amendment. The Fifth Amendment says that you are not required to give testimony that will punish you criminally. You're not required to testify against yourself. Okay, good. Where are you in court? Are you in court in America, or are you in court in Brazil? Okay, understand this. When you are some rich, white, American drunken asshole, and you're in a foreign country during the Olympics when the entire planet is watching your behavior, and you're acting like that, God help you. Okay? Jimmy Feigen was lucky that he had the money to settle the plea deal. Okay, because if he did not have $11,000 in the bank to give them for the charity, he would have been there. He would have still been there. Okay, and Ryan Lochte better hope to Christ that he's not in some foreign country that has a problem, that owes a favor to Brazil. Okay, because this is gonna come back to haunt Ryan Lochte, because the other two guys who pulled off the plane, they gave testimony. The Brazilian government said, okay, fine, you paid the manager back for the shit you broke. You didn't lie to the cops. The other two guys did. You're free to go. The other guy came in. He lied to the police. Okay, he didn't tell us you're sorry. Give us $11,000 for our youth programs, and go home. Lochte's escaped justice. He's like, I'm so sorry. He's not sorry. If he was sorry, he would get on a plane, go to Brazil, hand over his passport, go see the judge, tell the judge he's sorry, get on his knees, and give $11,000 to use leave. Sorry. Thank you.